Good Monday evening, everyone. I am going to try to put together a short video that we talk about the overview of the Woodcock-Johnson 4 tests of achievement. The tests, the Woodcock tests constitute 3 separate batteries. There is the test of cognitive abilities, there is the test of achievement, and the test of oral language. These 3 batteries were developed in 2014, and they were co-normed, which means that they were tested on the same group of people, the same norming sample. And what that does, that allows us to standardize the test scores across the 3 batteries. The test of cognitive abilities looks at a student's aptitude and intelligence. The achievement battery looks at 3 areas of math, reading, and written language, and the test of oral language gives you a measure of what the child's speaking and writing abilities are. Take out the writing abilities. It only tests the oral language, reading and speaking. So, those 3 tests can be used. The school psychologist could give the cognitive battery, the special education teacher could give the achievement battery, and the speech language pathologist could give the oral language battery, and they would be able to compare across all 3 batteries the child's performance. But that is beyond the purview of what we want to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about specifically the overview of the Woodcock-Johnson, it's the 4th edition, tests of achievement. The tests of achievement look at 3 areas: reading, math, and written language. So there's the standard battery, which is subtests 1 through 11, and there are 3 forms of that. There's Form A, Form B, and Form C. So the questions and the answers are a little bit different on each of the 3 parallel forms. So that if I wanted to test a student at the beginning of the year, I would use Form A, and if for some reason I needed to test the student later in the year, I would either use Form B or Form C. As I said, they're parallel forms that can be compared, but you wouldn't want to give Form A 2 different times during the course of 1 year. So, as I said, subtests 1 through 11 there are 3 different forms of them. However, there is the extended battery, which is tests 12 through 20, and there is only one extended battery that you would use with all 3 of the other forms. What I want to describe now are the 3 areas: reading, math, and written language. The Woodcock-Johnson test of achievement is known as a wide-ranging achievement test because it has more than one subtest that measures each area. It was normed based on the 2010 census, and it is designed for people from the ages of 2 to 90. That is the norm group. Okay, so each reading, math, and written language, each one has a basic component. It's kind of the basic skills. There is a fluency measure, how well you are able to do something and how quickly. And then there is also an application measure, how you put the basic skills, the fluency, together and apply it to the larger reading, writing, or math process. So let's talk about reading. There are 2 basic measures in reading. There is letter-word identification, and there is word attack. Those constitute the basic skills in reading. There are 2 fluency measures in reading. One is sentence reading fluency, and the other one is oral reading. And then finally, they are put together in an application called passage comprehension. Now, in math and in writing, there's one measure for each. In math, their calculation is the basic skill. Sentence fact fluency is the fluency measure. How well and quickly can you do math facts? And then finally, there's the application called applied problems. You take your calculation skills, your fluency with knowing some of the facts, and you apply them into story problems. In writing, there are also 3 measures. The basic measure is spelling. How can you write and spell words? The fluency measure is sentence writing fluency, in which you are given some prompts, and then you take all sorts of words and put them together and write a complete sentence. And then finally, there is writing samples, which is the application process. So that gives you kind of an overview of what the Woodcock-Johnson Test of Achievement looks like. Now, there are 3 components that you should have with you this evening, and we're going to talk about the testing easel first, and then in the second portion of this video, I will talk about what each of the subtests measure and some tips for using the test record and the student response book. So as you will notice, it is an easel format, and this is Form A, subtests 1 through 11. And so what you will do when you set it up, there are tabs for each of the areas. So there is one for letter word identification, which is the first subtest of it's a reading test. There are, on the very first page of each of the subtests, there are administration guidelines. There is a place to determine the starting point for each of the students. So what you will want to have, you want to familiarize yourself with the test booklet itself. You go through each of the subtests, look at all of the items, figure out how to set it up. So what you're going to do when you set it up, you'll have it set up as an easel. On one side is the student stimulus. On the other side, your side, you have the correct answers. There are written directions for each of the subtests that must be followed to the letter. You cannot deviate from your reading the directions. They are words in blue that must be spoken exactly as they are written. It's very important that you select a good starting point, that you follow the directions, and that you read the correct information to the students so that you will have a standardized administration. It will be delivered very much like it was done with the Norton group. So it's really, really important that you follow starting points and that you know all of the items. For each subtest, there are a different set of requirements that you will need. So for example, with letter word identification, you need to know how to pronounce all of the words accurately. And that's just one example. So as I said, there are 11 different subtests, and you will have your easel. The way that you will set up your easel is demonstrated in the video that you will be watching a little bit later this week. It is the administration of the Woodcock-Johnson Test of Achievement, the first 11 subtests by Cynthia Taylor Biggie, who is a school psychologist, and she will demonstrate how to do the test with her student Rose. And that's the end of part 1.